So I have this magic number 4 that I think you need to try things 4 times before you stop.
This is Making Progress. Welcome. Today I'm joined by Dieuwke from Woensel. Welcome to you too. Please, can you introduce yourself for us?
I'm Dieuwke and I'm helping entrepreneurs in their growth phase. So mostly focused on when they have about 10, 15 employees and then wanting to scale up to 80, 100 employees. And that's actually the moment when the founder does everything but needs to learn how to delegate and start making scalable processes and structures. That's where I come in and I help them with the scaling process. Besides that, I have a learning concept for entrepreneurs. So I'm organizing learning communities for entrepreneurs. It's a way of supporting other entrepreneurs and tackling their challenges. And I'm writing a book on the human side of entrepreneurship.
Oh yeah, great. Yes. And that's also something that we would like to discuss today.
Yes.
Because it is very interesting, I think, how that relates to setting goals and trying to achieve them, and what do you do when you're failing or you're not quite, able to hit your goals. That can create a lot of stress, right?
Yeah.
So let's start with like goals in general. Like, how do you like set your goals, like for business or for personal reasons?
Yeah. So if I just focus on myself, I'm quite a structured person. So this is already the end of the year. Then I start mood boarding. So I actually make a mood board, a visual representation of what I want. And that's always a combination of personal and business.
Yeah.
Because I do think it should be aligned. And based on that mood board, because that actually stops my thinking, because I'm over ambitious, but the visual part makes it for me helpful to get more in the emotional part on what I want. And then based on the visual mood board, I create goals. And I started doing that yearly and then quarterly. But now I notice when I'm setting up new stuff, I do it monthly because I feel everything changes too quickly. And then you cannot do like long-term planning. And I actually like keep track of them. And I journal as well. And then I reflect on if I achieve my goals or not, and then I try to direct them towards where I want to.
Mm-hmm.
So quite structured,
yeah.
actually.
So how do you then make sure that you actually achieve your goals? Is that by
Good question? I feel like I'm already quite determined, so I get frustrated if I don't achieve my goals. So I keep pushing because I'm not satisfied when I'm not achieving my goals. So I feel I have a bit of an internal drive.
Yeah.
However, when I'm not motivated, actually for me, it helps to step back, do something totally different, and then come back to it. I think when I'm pushing too much and I feel like I'm working too hard and it's not coming to progress, that's always my moment that I know that I need to just take some rest or take a holiday. Right. And when I get back, then I'm super energized to keep going.
So for you, this is not what dedicates a change in goals. Like for me, because that's like, if I notice that I'm working too hard at something and I'm getting frustrated, typically I get less motivated to do it or to achieve the goal.
Yeah.
And then the goal eventually, more than likely, is just dropped.
Yeah.
Right? Is that not the case for you?
Yeah, I do think so, because it does something with your motivation. However, I am also with pushing. So I have this magic number 4 that I think you need to try things 4 times before you stop.
Yeah.
I think the thing is when you don't accomplish it, you just stop too early. And of course you need to adjust. So I'm adjusting my goals as well. So I'm thinking, okay, maybe can I take another route? But the first part is just keep on pushing. And then for me, it's doing something 4 times. And after 4 times, when it's not working, then I'm doing something different. That's
right.
That's how I keep. Also, maybe because there's a sort of a deadline or something, like because it's manageable 4 times. Like in your head it's like, okay, 4 times is uncomfortable, sort of.
Yeah, it's more than 3.
Yes.
Where 3 usually is like the magic number, like 3rd time's the charm, but then you push for 1 more.
Yeah. And for me, that's the awkward push. And that's really when you know what you have to do. And then also it's the mindset for me that changes. Because if you do things once, then it doesn't stay. If you do things twice, then you cannot find a sort of pattern in what you're doing. 3rd time, you find a pattern. You actually already know a bit. But the fourth time, I don't know, you create some kind of rhythm.
Yeah.
And it's there to stay or not. So that's why I have magic number 4.
Okay.
And that keeps me motivated because I know I need to do things 4 times, and then I'm just like, I'm counting. I'm like 1, 2,
at
3,
most, right?
4. Yeah.
I hope sometimes or often. Things still like
you already see the progress.
Yeah.
But I think in the first 3 tries you don't see so much progress in general. I think most progress you see after.
Yeah.
4 times. I actually talked about this with one of those leadership executive coaches, and he also said that he does his leadership programs for 4 months instead of 3 months. So he changed it, and also in the 4th coaching session, there's always a breakthrough. So somehow magic number 4.
All right. So is it superstition or is it?
No, it's just it.
Right. So where does in your work for with entrepreneurs, getting like from 10 employees to 100. It's a lot of process-based work, I think, and but also in your book, it's also about the human side of entrepreneurship. It's about what entrepreneurship is like. So where do you get the motivation to work on the entrepreneurship topic or on how to support entrepreneurs, I guess? That sounds to be like your niche, right? You want to be...
Yes. If there's I tried, and I still do sometimes corporate programs, but mostly on innovation and entrepreneurship. Yeah. But for me, I notice when I'm doing a workshop in a corporate and with the manager, I don't get so much energy than from working with entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
For me, what makes it special is that entrepreneurs are just like that special breed that just are too stubborn and that just want to do their own thing and create something from scratch. And I think for me, that creation process is just beautiful. I don't know, they're just a bit weird. That's what I like working with.
Yeah, but where does that come from, that motivation?
I don't know, actually. It's a good question. I've been asked this before, but I'm not coming from a very entrepreneurial background.
I know it can be a difficult question. So, but I can ask it differently. So, when you wake up in the morning, what makes you jump out of bed and say, "Yes, today I'm going to write my book or work on"?
That's a good question. Yeah. I think for me, there are goals. And goals give me satisfaction.
Sure.
And working on something that I believe in, that I can actually make some kind of impact or
deliver value.
Yeah, deliver value. Yeah.
Is it just because you're good at it, or? I'm not sure.
You're assuming that I'm good at it.
I'm assuming that you're good at it because you have clients. But is that the reason? Because you know that you're good at it, that you know that is what you want to do? Yeah.
I think it's satisfactory to make progress and you see the results.
Yeah.
And actually working with these kinds of companies, you see big results in a quick time.
They have impact.
Yeah. So, yeah. You see more impact than with a bigger company when it's slower. So it's a lot quicker. So it gives more satisfaction quicker.
Yeah.
Which is more satisfactory. But what makes it unique?
I think, but that could also be why you're not motivated to do it for corporates anymore.
Yeah.
Because they work a lot slower, or the impact might be marginalized.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe what I also like about it, and it's maybe also entrepreneurship in general, it's a bit of a chaotic process and uncertain. And in worlds of uncertainty, the only thing that you can do is trust yourself and your own uniqueness and just try and experiment. And for me, that's a way more interesting process. it's more surprisingly. Then you wake up and like, okay, what's going to be today on the planning, and you don't know. And
so maybe just the uncertainty and
it makes it interesting. It keeps me intrigued, I think.
Yeah, I think I understand. So
otherwise, I'm quite quickly bored, I guess.
Yeah. Okay, so talking about getting bored and not being motivating, I can assume that writing a book
it's quite repetitive. Yeah,
can be very boring.
Yeah,
right, or at least from what I've seen.
Yeah, definitely
in movies and like always frustrated.
Yeah,
people writing a book. Like, so how do you bring yourself to that?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think it's also a sort of a process. So in the beginning, I was like, let's go for it. And I was like, oh, this is going to take a little bit longer. And the results are going to take a bit longer.
Yeah.
For me, it helps to actually engage with entrepreneurs and keep talking about the subject. Because if I talk with other entrepreneurs about the subject and I feel that they're also quite passionate about the topic, then it inspires me to continue writing. So I also purposely choose my proofreaders. Like, can you read this? Can you give me feedback? And then
they do the boring work.
Yeah, maybe. And then they keep me motivated.
So can you tell us a little bit more what the book is about? Because I think it ties in. My assumption is that it ties in with entrepreneurs that set goals and have ambitions that they want to achieve, and then may or may not be able to, achieve what they want to achieve, and that causes problems that I think your book is about. But can you tell us about your book, and if that is the case, if my assumption is correct or not? And
it's not so specifically on motivation. It's more about that I worked so long with so many different entrepreneurs in my life, and that I noticed the same patterns over and over again. And that's for me that a lot of the entrepreneurs that I work with, they're quite lonely, and they experience a lot of different things and they don't share. And if they share, it's always keeping up appearances.
Yeah.
So it always feels that they're masking. Or they're making themselves better than they are, which I find quite interesting. Like, why would you do it? And of course you would do it because you have your stakeholders, you have your investors, you have your clients, you have your employees, and you need to keep up appearances. But I find it quite interesting because it also, because of it, you also sometimes forget yourself. And I see a lot of entrepreneurs not focusing on themselves. So also just not having so much time for friends and family, for sports, too much alcohol, or any kinds of other things that are not really healthy. And that actually backfires back to their company. So I noticed that if they start taking care of themselves a bit better, then their companies grow better and more sustainable, and then they can continue going. And I feel that's a topic that it's not so much discussed. More and more though, but not so much.
Yeah, but have you actually, so you've seen like entrepreneurs start taking care of themselves and then the company
flourishes.
Yeah. And
so there's sometimes it's also a mirror. So also what the employees mirror at the founder. It's quite interesting. Sometimes the company already says what they actually need to work on. So if, for example, one of the founders that I worked with, complete divorce, was staying in hotel room, not taking care of himself, completely full, then you don't have any headspace to scale a company. So if you first structure your own life and get a habit and a rhythm of that, then you can start creating that for the company. But you cannot create that for the company if you are a complete chaos yourself.
Yeah.
So first yourself, then the company.
Right. Is that like the main premise of the book?
Yeah. Yeah, well, I think for me it's not main. I think you also need to invest in the business, but it's not like necessarily the direct link. Like if you invest in yourself, your business grows. It's not necessarily so. But I do think it needs to be more balanced. And I do think that in society, we should stop telling the hero entrepreneurial journey, and we should focus a bit more on supporting the entrepreneur also emotionally.
Yeah. So, and what was for you the main driver or reason to write this book? Was that you saw these businesses flourish after the entrepreneurs started taking better care of themselves, or was there like a singular moment where you were like, okay, I need to write a book about this?
Well, I think it's just going slowly. I don't know if I told you, but I also worked in family businesses where I did pre-mediation.
Yep.
So in that case, with the family business, you already had the personal conversation about the personal goals and about the family goals, and then how to connect it to the company.
Yeah.
So I already had that personal mindset. And then with working with entrepreneurs, with the scaling, I saw that they were struggling, and I also saw that the impact that it would have if I would just only focus on the company, it wouldn't have so much impact. So I would always focus on the founder and the company.
Yeah.
And then it would make more impact. And then maybe another thing that also really added up is that one of my old bosses committed suicide, which was like the most major entrepreneur that there was, and super inspirational. So I think for me, and nobody knew that he was struggling so much, and nobody could see it. So that was maybe also the final push. That was like, okay, I really need to write this book because there are like some serious mental health issues with.
Amongst entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
Wow. That must also have been a shock, right?
Yeah, it was quite a shock indeed. Yeah.
So because I was just thinking, like, what else can I ask? This is like we do this conversation very organically.
No, dude, and this is quite a harsh topic.
No, but I was thinking, like, I'm going to ask her, like, are you always able to help? But I can imagine that you're like that. Sometimes somebody is just, and they don't have to commit suicide. But I can imagine that if somebody is drinking or not taking care of him or herself, that a business will also eventually quite possibly
die.
Truly.
Yeah, because
have
you don't
experienced businesses that went under where you are like, well, probably because of personal issues.
Well, mostly they get stuck because of personal issues.
Yeah.
And then they get under because of different reasons, because they continue doing the same thing.
Same behavior, yeah.
Yeah, so no make a change.
Yeah.
But mostly I feel that the people have more negative impact than the business. The business, of course, slowly goes down. So employees know that it's like it's not so much investing in there. The energy goes out of the company. So it's quite clear. But for the founder, most of the time it's more of a shock.
Yeah, and more damaging.
Yeah.
Right.
Maybe. Is this a topic where you talk about with other entrepreneurs?
No. Like
this,
but I mean, the beauty is like I try, and so far I've been able to always find. Oh, you mean like my stress and my personal like. I thought you meant on the on the
show.
Podcast.
Both. Like it's like.
Well, so on the show, of course, the topic that we are discussing is quite niche, as in. Like how you work with these companies. So and I'm happy to be able to discuss different topics with each guest.
Yeah.
But like the topic of stress, so I do sometimes ask people like what the biggest challenge was that they overcame.
Yeah.
But that's always a business challenge.
Yeah.
And yes, I mean, I know as a person as well that there oftentimes your personal life is intertwined with your business, especially if you like what you do.
Yeah.
And then if you have issues in your personal life, then that will definitely have an impact on your business for sure. But it's not. Yeah, you're right. It's not something people
talk about. Right?
Typically talk about a lot. We do have the.
Or we don't want to know. Like even if you would ask, like, how are you doing? How are you doing?
Sure.
And then. Like you get the answer, like I'm super stressed. The investor pushing me, and then you're like, okay, cool, good luck.
Yeah, so I think most of the time I don't mind if somebody does answer that way.
Yeah.
But we have, but also depends on how close someone is to you.
Yeah.
Luckily, we have the different type of events. You also do events, so I'm also curious about that maybe to talk about, because we have these events or moments where we sit down with a couple of entrepreneurs and discuss like our goals and translate them to monthly, quarterly, or weekly.
Yeah.
And then of course we share like, this week I didn't do anything because, X or
Life
Y
happens.
ended up in the hospital. And
yeah.
I mean, that makes total sense. But then you're also talking to a small group of people that you see on a regular basis.
Yeah.
So is that also like, so what is the goal of the events that you talked about? You also do this
learning communities.
Learning communities, right?
Yeah, it's a new concept. So I'm also experimenting with it. But the goal is actually that you help each other with your challenges.
Yeah.
And you create a supportive environment with like-minded entrepreneurs. But what you're saying, it is quite hard to create that environment.
And these are probably business challenges because...
Yeah, there are business challenges. And I think for me, the interesting part is like, what can you do to overcome this business challenge? So most of the time, it's mostly focused on the starting entrepreneurs. I noticed that they're also more broad networking. The more experienced entrepreneurs, they do strategic networking, and they like to have more one-on-one sessions. So the starting entrepreneurs, they just have questions like, okay, how do I get more clients in? How do I stay motivated? How do I keep track of my goals? How do I measure if I'm successful or not?
Yeah. But that's not really your target audience. So why do you organize these events?
Good question.
Like what again? What motivates you to do that? Because I'm curious.
Well, I noticed that a lot of my friends were coming up to me like, "Oh, I want to start a business," or like if a boyfriend from a friend would start, it's like, "I'll talk to Dieuwke because she knows a lot about entrepreneurship, and then if you really want to start a business." So I ended up in weekly doing these coffee chat meetings, and then I was like, interesting target group. And at the same time, I've noticed that most of the companies, founders, they just hire me when it's actually a bit too late.
Yeah.
And when you start early, then you can actually build way more sustainable processes and structures than when you start too late. So that's why I thought like, okay, maybe the target group between 0 to 15 employees would also be quite interesting. But I've noticed that especially the starting entrepreneurs with no employees, they just have the biggest problem. So they get stuck. They need motivation. They need inspiration. So they're more open to networking. But I'm still experimenting.
So it's more like a passion project.
Yes.
I've experienced actually, like I also did. Well, we started doing workshops like 13 years ago, and 12 years ago, and like people from that, they were also like just starting entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
And now they're giving me assignments.
Yeah.
So it's like maybe a very long-term
investment.
go-to-market strategy.
Yes.
Like,
But I find it very interesting that these are the people that also don't want to invest in a lot of things, but that also not investing in yourself, not investing in your company also restricts you from growing.
Yeah. So but they are going to, they don't have funds to invest because they're starting entrepreneurs, so mostly don't have funds.
Yeah.
But they are investing in networking and knowledge development, right? By
true.
participating.
True. So that's what I'm focusing on.
All right. Yeah. Cool. So what is next? What can we expect from you going forward?
Hopefully launching the book finally.
When should it be finished, people? What goal did you set?
This is good. This is like commitment on the podcast.
What goal did you set yourself?
Well, my goal was to finish my manuscript.
Yeah.
By February. So I gave myself 3 months. So I stopped my interim jobs because I just keep distracting me because I love my work, and then I continue doing that and I give it all, and then I forgot my own book. So I was like, okay, I'm just gonna schedule some time. So I'm gonna take 3 months. So 1 month left. So in 1 month you should have a manuscript. So maybe you can be a proofreader.
All right, thank you. That would be nice, actually.
Yeah.
I would love. I would love to do the boring work.
Yeah. And keep me motivated.
All right. Yeah. I think that's a great end. It's a bit brief, but I think it's a great end to the podcast. Where can people find you online if they want to look you up?
LinkedIn.
LinkedIn.
My main.
Dieuwke van Woensel.
Yeah, or Meetup, where I have my entrepreneurial learning communities, which is actually called Entrepreneurial Learning Community.
All right. Thank you.